What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Strength Solutions podcast. If you're looking for us, we're on Apple and Spotify. You can rate and review us. Then check us out on YouTube. We're nice and cool there. You want to hit that smash button? Subscribe now. Then, if you're looking for a website, it's Strength Solutions Podcast. And if you're looking for a place to email us future fitness questions, it's strengthsolutionspodcast@gmail.com. Strength Solutions Podcast for TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm Strength Solutions Edwin.
I'm Strength Solutions Nathaniel.
Okay, dude.
All right.
What did you bring me here?
I brought you a little drink, a little sample here. This is
we're brought to you by Shiner. They're sponsoring.
Yeah, Shiner is sponsoring us today. This is a Rodeo or Rodeo Zero, right? It's a non-alcoholic beer. I've been telling you about this. 0 proof. Just giving you one to try. So let's go ahead and crack them open.
Is there any calories in it?
So from what I understand, there's another brand that makes non-alcoholic beers, and their brand name is called Athletic. And I think that they kind of market a little bit more like it's healthy. Yeah. Fitness. And so those ones are 45 calories. So it's less than like a Truly or any of those like seltzers. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to assume that this one's about the same. I actually tried looking it up, but I couldn't find any information on it in terms of calories and stuff like that. Cause again, I don't think Shiner really gives a shit about calories and stuff the same way Athletic does. But I would assume that without all of the alcohol inside of it, that it has far less calories than if it did.
Yeah, because alcohol is the calories.
Is the calories. And I think for alcohol, it's 7 calories per gram, something like that. Yeah. And you don't get anything from it. So
don't quote them on that. Guys.
Yeah. Here we go. We can go ahead and crack these open. Give a little.
Oh,
that's crisp. Try it out. It tastes like a beer.
You know, it tastes like Natty Light.
You do. That's actually that's pretty accurate. Yeah.
Right?
It's like a nice, crisp, just like open beer. There's not really a bunch going on in it. It's just normal, you know? And
it takes me back to college without the alcohol.
Give me 5 of these. Let's go now.
Throw them down. Shotgun them.
It's pretty good, man. I think, like I said, I like it on just like a normal day. You know, if I'm just kind of at home. Well, I like it when I'm cooking.
It gives me that feeling. I wonder what's in it because, you know, beer affects me.
Okay. Yeah.
So I wonder what's in it. I'll have to do more research before I drink any more because I don't want to get like super inflamed or anything.
From what I understand, they call them malt beverages. So inside of them, they still have all the same stuff that beer has. So it still has like the barley, wheat, all those things that they have inside of it. But somehow, I don't know what the process is or whatever, but they just extract the alcohol from it. So it has less than 0.5% in each beer. Wow. Yeah. And so,
hey, dude, I haven't had a beer in forever because I can't really handle it.
Yeah. What does it do to you?
I get like after 2 beers, it's like I get this brain fog.
Interesting.
And so it's almost like I'm drunk.
Yeah.
And but dude, I went to BJ's, the restaurant,
mm-hmm.
and got a blonde.
Yeah.
And dude, I had 2, and it was like if I drank 15.
You're just fucked up.
Yes.
That's so
I was
weird.
Like, Amanda, can you drive me?
You know what's funny though? I kind of agree. I feel like I can drink mixed drinks a lot, and I never
whiskey.
Yeah. It's like it takes me a long time to get drunk or a buzz or something from that. But same thing. I'll have 2 beers and I'm like, I feel kind of funny. Like
I think that's probably intolerance.
I wonder.
In it.
Yeah, I wonder what it is. But this one, maybe that's part of it because it's like I like drinking it and I feel like I get that sort of relax. I'm chilling.
Dude, I could feel it like from the bubbles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Kind of like
the flavor. I feel like it does. It's like when people vape, right? And if they don't have tobacco in it, it's still like you're getting the habit part of it. And so it's pretty nice.
Drink more of it, dude.
It's pretty nice, man.
It's not that bad.
It's not bad at all. Anyway, that's it.
Oh, okay, cool, dude. Had my first non-alcoholic beer.
There you go.
On the podcast.
On live.
Okay.
Super beta, bro. That's really beta.
What the Sigma? What the Skippity?
I was just talking about that with my brother yesterday.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Because oh my god, we're starting this podcast really funny. But it's, so one of my clients, he was telling me that his granddaughter is having a birthday pretty soon, and she's 10, so she's about the same age as like my daughter. How old are your daughters?
My kids are 11 and 12.
Okay, so around there, right? Yeah. And I was cracking up because he was showing me on his phone like what they had sent out. And her brother had created this whole like, it was essentially like a PowerPoint presentation with a fucking table of contents, dude, all of this stuff to like, for all of the things that she wanted. And so it was like table of contents. One was like skincare stuff. The second one was like fun stuff. The third one was like this, whatever. And it was hilarious because at the end there was a pie graph that had like percentages of like how much she wanted each thing. So it was like, I would like the things from the skincare like 30%, like 20%. I was like, dude, who did this? But getting to the point, and a lot of it, the lingo, the words she was using, I was like, God, this is exactly how my daughter talks. Like the same way, like, oh, this is so preppy. Like this would be, and I was like, whoa, man. I was like, it's just the slang, it's just the slang of the generation.
Dude, wow.
It was pretty funny.
It's just like us growing up. We had our own slang.
I know. And it's funny because like you're saying stuff like that. And in my head, I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? Like, when do you use that? I don't understand. But it's like the same thing that our parents I'm sure they were like, what the hell are you even saying?
What are you doing?
I'm out of touch, man. We're out of touch. We're old now.
We have joined the generation of old.
Yeah. What the skibbity, man? God.
What's a Sigma? All right. My kids would kill me if they heard me talk.
I know, they'd be like, Dad, you're so embarrassing. That's not even how we say it.
Cool. What's another thing you've heard that you're like?
And my daughter she says Sigma a lot. Sigma's like probably one of the biggest one. Riz is another one. Riz makes sense. Yeah. I understand what that one is. Charisma, right? I get it. I'm trying to think of other ones. Skibbity, yeah. Like, what the fuck does that even mean? I don't even understand. Like, where do you use that in context? My slang word is the F word. It's my favorite one.
All right, we're a fitness podcast, guys. Welcome back. What I really wanted to talk about today is your fitness influencers and trainers. Ooh. And how dumb they are.
I actually got something to say about this one too, but let's continue.
Right. And they know better than you.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. All trainers, all doctors, and all people on the internet know better than you.
We were just talking about this a little bit before, right? How looking at everything online right now or through podcasts and stuff like that, it's all very extreme, right? It's all one way or the other. I don't know, man. I look at a lot of the stuff that I see on Instagram, and I think right now we both have pretty good, like, curated stuff where most of it is what we know as good information and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But then, I see the random influencer, like you're saying, that I follow and stuff like that. And I'm just like, the fuck are they talking about? Or what are they doing? And so it's tough, man. It's tough out there.
Yeah, man. It's like, I was listening to a podcast and other people talk, and it's really interesting. They'll be like, oh, you don't want to take up too much omega-3s because then you need inflammation. And then the other one, like, there's too much inflammation. You need omega-3s. And I'm just like, get tested, bro. Like, yeah, it comes down to that.
It comes down to who you are.
Anti-inflammatories are bad. Having inflammation, like, people are so confused because the people are so extreme.
Yeah. And I feel like it's, we've had friends that we talk to and stuff like that who are just like, I don't know what the fuck to believe. I have no clue what's going on or what's the right stuff. And it's just so confusing. And I think sometimes it leads to a lot of people just kind of backing out of it completely. They're just like, I don't know what I'm doing, so I'm just not going to try it all. Yeah. And that's unfortunate,
Yeah. So I was talking to somebody today, and we were talking about APOB blood work, right? Uh-huh. And, well, it's supposed to be this number or whatever, and my cholesterol is a little higher. And I was like, there's a lot of theories on cholesterol.
Yeah,
there's like a theory that higher cholesterol is not necessarily a bad thing. Mm-hmm. Also, having a high cholesterol and then lowering it down through a statin could lead to Alzheimer's. There's that theory.
Yeah. And
I was like, what do you feel like at the end of the day?
Right.
You need to take that into consideration. You need to take consideration from a good doctor or someone who's studying longevity.
Yeah.
Should you take a statin just to drop it just a little bit? What's the dosage you should take it at? Not the standard dose, but maybe you should take it at a lower dose.
And what's the risk versus reward on it?
Yeah. Right? And really think through everything before you're just like, I'm going to take it.
Yeah. Or just, cholesterol's bad, so I have to take it lower.
I mean, we read that study about like 40% of statins were just useless.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Yep. I
and it just makes you think like you really got to individualize it for yourself. Mm-hmm. And you got to really understand, how do you eat? What are your habits? And if we're talking about longevity, stress plays a role. Sleep plays a role.
Yep.
Your workout routine plays a role. Your nutrition plays a role. Having great family and friends around for support plays a role. Your finances play a role.
Everything.
Like, there's not one answer.
Yeah. Very, very true. And kind of going into what I was going to say too is that I just learned today. I don't know when it's gonna I guess release or when they're gonna start it, but I heard that UTSA is gonna be one of the first universities that's gonna offer like an online influencer degree, like
No
a
way.
way
That's so
to learn
dumb.
how to do it. And I'm bringing it up because okay, number one, don't quote me on that. You can go look it up. I'm not really sure if it's coming out now or if that's even a possibility.
It's tomorrow.
So I'm already enrolled. But the thing is that I was like, man, if something like this comes out, we already have so many people that are out, doing this sort of influencer thing. How many more people are going to come out, with this whole like, well, I have a degree, I have this, you need to listen to me, blah, blah, blah. Like it's going to like sort of explode even more. I feel like,
You know what a degree means to me?
nothing.
Jack shit.
Yeah, jack shit, right? And the thing is that, I feel like to most of the population, it does mean a lot,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh, he has got a degree. I've had people tell me that when they were looking for me in personal training, that they were looking for someone with a degree.
Which
And-
means nothing.
Yeah, luckily I have one, right? But it's like I could also be the exact same as I am now without one,
Or you'd be shittier with a degree.
Yeah, I could be worse, right? Because I just kind of rely on just the credential itself and don't really feel like that gives me the confidence enough to think that I'm a good trainer, And so I don't know. I heard about that today and I was like, wow, that's crazy. And the
You gotta
fact,
make money.
yeah, the fact of the
University.
matter is that I'm sure that if this picks up, if it makes enough money, right, that another university is going to pick it up and another one, and then it just kind of the one thing I said, I was just like, the world has changed. It is not the same place that we used to live in,
Well, yeah. I mean, I guarantee you it's not the place that we used to live in. And two, I was listening to a podcast and talking about possible leading to civil war and what inequality is a big thing, and that stagnation in wages, all these things are coming together. People are getting frustrated.
Yeah.
You're seeing the UK, you're seeing France. And then putting it into context even more was this video. And the guy literally goes about people making $150,000 and a below median average house are living paycheck to paycheck at $150,000.
Yeah.
Combined.
I was thinking about that
That's
the
wild.
other day. I was talking to my brother, I believe, and I was talking about Camille and I and our new house and stuff like that. And I was like, together combined, me and her make over $100,000. And it's like,
That should be a good living.
why am I freaking out about, this payment and how I'm going to get food? And, it's fucking insane. It's not okay.
It's because Kamala, bro. Biden. Or it's Trump's fault. It's 2020.
Thanks, Obama. And
how about corporations run everything, guys?
yeah, literally that, and it's like, well, look at how much you're getting paid. Look at how minimum wage hasn't been raised. Look at the other day, my grandmother and I
I'm not gonna say the minimum wage, right?
Yeah.
There's more factors of that. I think it has to do with
I think there is, yeah.
private equity taking over a lot of things, and there's places where regulations should be placed and there should be deregulations of places that there should be deregulation.
The thing
right?
too, to me, is I'm just like, okay, you raise the minimum wage, who cares? Unless you raise the minimum wage to fucking $30, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? It's not going to change a lot. I mean, I guess it would change stuff for people who are getting paid that much, but I don't really feel like a lot of the population is getting paid that minimum wage, and regardless, it's like, I can go get a career job. I have a career job. Camille has a career job. You have a career job, and it's like a lot of people have these, and it's
you
like,
know what? You just need to stop complaining and pull yourself to the bootstraps.
yeah, I need to stop buying coffee and stop drinking non-alcoholic beer.
Stop having avocado with your toast.
Yeah. And it's just like, what are you supposed to do? I mean, my grandmother and I were talking about the price of eggs the other day, and she was like, how much was that dozen? Because I had like a dozen eggs, and I was like, I think it was like over $3.50 or like almost like $4. And she was like, yeah, I got 3 dozen eggs the other day and they were like $12. And I was like, God damn, dude, it's fucking crazy,
Yeah,
man. It's just like out of hand, man.
There's a picture of Taco Bell 5-layer burrito, 89 cents in 2019 or 2010. Sorry, 2019, 2010. Literally, that's not bad, right?
No, that's
$5.39 for the same thing in 2024. That is like quadruple the
And
price.
you said that's Taco Bell?
Taco Bell.
Like, it's fucking Taco Bell, bro. You know what I mean? It's McDonald's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why is a McDouble $3? You know what I mean?
I know there's a lot of factors and the complexities of like when they printed money, but who do they give the money to? give it to wealthy individuals
And
and they
the-
printed it.
and
So
also-
they're not really have your back. Plus there's overregulation in pharmacy, and then there's underregulation here, overregulation in housing.
The thing is-
But I have to either be the conservative values or
Yeah,
have
yeah.
the liberal values, right? Like, if oh my God, he's saying this, he's not a liberal.
The
oh,
thing
he's
is
got,
too that it's like
God.
if it's that level of food, you know what I mean? If it's like the lowest quality fast food that you can buy, that's purely just money for food. You know what I mean? It's like why is it so goddamn expensive? It's just crazy, man. I don't know.
No, man. Dude, you should. I sent you the podcast. You should really listen to it. He talks about how this happens every so often. He even compared today to the Roman Empire in the inequality that we have and why the Roman Empire fell. It's just really interesting in the economic impact, even through generations, and we still fall for this stuff generation through generation. He was talking about the best equality we've ever had was post World War II.
Wow.
And if you even look at the number of like the income overall of money or all overall money, boomers have like 70% of it.
Damn.
Or whatever. And it's just really interesting. Don't quote me on that percentage, but it's a really,
Nope,
really high percentage. But you know, it's just insane to me to just see that. And nobody thinks that like it's a corporation issue. Like there's guys who owe or who have, not saying they didn't work that hard for their money. There's a happy medium for these billionaire guys to pay back into the system. And then they're like, well, they would have not invented this, or Amazon, he invented Amazon. Look how like great he is. Like, yeah, but you're giving him all the credit for all these other people doing labor positions within that company.
Yeah.
Like they don't matter, but because he came up with the idea. Don't get me wrong, he still deserves more because he came up with the idea. He came up with the concept. You know, I think there is a way too much or way too little.
Of course.
And it's finding the happy medium. You know, you sent me this video. You said, check this out. And I saw the whole podcast and I told you it was a good podcast to listen to. But to make sure it's not your problem.
Yeah, that was
because you always do that.
It was interesting, yeah, and it is like one of the reasons why I sent to you is because like it did resonate with me a little bit. It was a conversation between two people, and they were saying that, or the woman on the podcast, right, was saying that whenever you go to fix a problem, right, in a relationship or between friends or family or whatever it is, that before you do said action, that you should make sure that it is your problem to fix, right? To make sure that you're not taking responsibility for something else or doing something for someone that maybe they should be doing themselves. And she gave an example of like, hey, if my friend is, I don't know, going through a breakup or something like that, and they call me up and be like, hey, I'm going through this, I need you to come help me pack. And she's like, well, you know, most of the time I would just stop whatever I'm doing and go and do this thing for them, you know? And then at the end of the day, I haven't really benefited anything from that. You know, that person benefited the most. And the one thing that I gave away was my time. Right. And looking at that a lot is, especially I feel like in today's world where a lot of us don't really have time because of work or life or whatever it is, that you really have to prioritize your own time, right? Whether you're in a relationship, whether it's with friends or family, like setting those sort of boundaries and making sure that you're not just giving yourself away, right, to everybody else and everything else, because then I think that's how you get sort of caught up in these like stress cycles, right? Of just like, I can't get anything done. There's no time for me. I'm not able to do anything. You're just sort of stuck rotating in this thing. And I know I've definitely been victim to that, right? I'm sure other people have too, or can relate to it. And you know, I don't know what it is. I know for me, it's like a lot of, I guess, feeling guilty of not helping other people or whatever it is. And then, you know, you just go like, well, I'm just going to do it anyway, and put yourself sort of last. Right. But at the end of the day, you're the only one that suffers because everybody else just takes from you, you know?
Yeah. I think a big part of like human nature is a lot of people like to solve problems, quote unquote. And even if they shouldn't waste their energy on this individual, they're still trying to solve their problem. And it takes a lot to let go.
Yeah.
And I think like when I've heard it when I listen to podcasts, I would think about like times of like, for example, I worked for Target
Mm.
There's problems in Target, and I'm like, they should do this, this, and this, and I'm like solving this problem, wasting energy that is not mine to be solved, right? And nobody cares what you think, anyways.
Yeah.
And so, why are you wasting that time and that energy on that when you could be using that energy for something positive in your life?
Right, because at the end of the day, too, especially with I guess that specific example too, it's like you're most likely not going to get any credit. You're not going to get a raise. No one's, they might say, "Oh, thanks, Edwin," yay, and then move on and just leave it.
You're most likely you're going to get ignored anyways.
Yeah, you're going to get ignored anyways. I remember, in the past, I knew a friend who had done.
Whoa! You have friends?
Yeah, in the past. In the past. All right. And they had done a project at their school. I guess I won't say what school, but it was for something here in San Antonio, like an entertainment type thing. And they were submitting them sort of like as a project, right? It was just for school stuff. It wasn't actually supposed to become anything or anything like that. But one of the ideas that one of the students had actually got taken and was implemented here in San Antonio at one of the missions. I'll just say it was at one of the missions. And no credit. They didn't get their name on anything because they're a student. It was just, they were like, "Oh, that's a great idea." And they just did it. And so it's like, you work so hard, and you just get nothing for it.
Wow.
And
wild.
so, and maybe it would have been better off if they kept that idea to themselves, and did it for themselves as opposed to trying to give it away.
Dang.
I know, it's kind of wild.
So some of my favorite videos are like when women find out what it's like to be a man.
Okay.
And so I don't know if you sent it or I sent it to you, but there was a girl who was talking to her friend, and she was like, "You're just doing these dating apps all wrong." And she literally tells him like, "I'll take over, I'll do it," and all that stuff. And she's like, my friend who I thought is a 6 in a scale, doesn't look bad, looks a little bit above average, yada, yada, yada. She's like, I could pick up girls like that. You're just not doing it right.
Yeah, you just don't know how to talk to women.
So she ends up taking over his app, trying to talk to these women. And she's like, "Dude, I'm talking to women who are like 2s and 1s, and they won't even give me a chance."
Yeah.
And she's like, "I regret what I said."
It's difficult. Yeah. And, I'm sure I try to have conversations like this, especially with opposite sex or whatever it is, and try and just explain the different perspectives, because I think a lot of the time we tend to just look through
our own lens.
I'm sure maybe we could be wrong about certain things too. I know a lot of the times we're like, well, girls could just go out and say, this, we're going to, you come have sex with me, you buy me drink, whatever.
It's just different
happens,
difficulties, right?
It's different difficulties.
Whatever religion you are, whatever where background you come from, different heights, you just have different difficulties.
Yeah. It's not anybody has it worse, right? And I think that's the thing. I think that too oftentimes we have this conversation of like, no, it's worse for women. It's harder for men, or no, it's harder for me because I'm shorter, or because I'm tall,
because I'm black, or because I'm white,
exactly,
because I'm a man.
And it's always like, who has it the worst, right? And whoever has the worst is the winner, right? And everybody else is you just complain too much, And it's like, why do we have this conversation? Why is that the conversation we always end up having? It's like, who has the worst? I don't know. Is it just that
it's human nature?
People, yeah, but like, why? Like, what do you gain from it?
It's easier to be a victim than it is to overcome obstacles.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I just answered it.
Yeah. But like, I wonder, I guess it is, right? It just is what it is. It's just easier to sit there and say,
and it's hard to admit that another person has an issue because
you're
so worried about yourself. And I think that's what happens a lot of times when we talk about the men versus women thing. It's hard for all these years for women to be like, men actually have a harder time in education because the way education is set up, because men were always treated throughout history differently. But they don't realize there's been subtle changes to education that actually benefit women.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's a lot of things that too, because it's historically seen one way and done one way, that you don't realize the switch has happened. So that's another thing for two. So like guys get stuck in a bind. We even talked about it. Like I was all about approaching women. Right around the switch was when you were doing it. You were dating, where it was harder for y'all to approach women.
Oh yeah.
Right. And then feel like you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And it's just really interesting. We don't see other people's difficulties, and we're so fixated on our own lives. Or people are like, "You're making $150,000. It's avocado toast. That's the issue." You're not really seeing through the lens of the actual individual that's having the issue.
Yeah.
And I think that's where all this comes back to as well. Like, you don't see through the lens of that person who if it's not your problem, you're seeing through your lens and you want to correct it. Right. And I think bring it back to a fitness space, because it's something I know is me and Nathaniel focus on mostly like people who want moving quality, longevity. If you want to do that bodybuilding, great. If you want to do powerlifting, great. We're just not the coaches for you.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with it. Maybe you chase it for a little while and you realize it's not right for you either. And it's because you're so fixated, and this happens to a lot of trainers, that this is the only way to work out. And then you see them training their clients how they want to be trained, or how they train themselves. Yet they want to be trained differently.
Right.
And I think we do this in life all the time. Or a relationship should be like this. Like, let's say you and Camille are going great. Well, how come that relationship's like that? Well, maybe that's what relationship works for them.
And that's so funny that you bring that up. When I was younger, I used to be like that a lot, dude. And it was like to the point, you know, where other people had things going on, and I'd be like, that's wrong. You know, your relationship is wrong. That's not the way it should be. They shouldn't talk to you this way.
You're better than everybody else. Right?
Yeah. Or, you know, the way that you guys talk about other people, that's so wrong. You shouldn't say stuff like that. And I think it came a lot from like what I wanted in a relationship. Right. And I just figured like that's right. You know, that's the way that it all should be. And I remember the first time I kind of came in encounter with that, which I know is maybe late or just funny or whatever, but I was talking to one of my therapists back in the day, and she was like, what's normal for one person isn't normal for everybody, you know? And it's, I was having a conversation with Camille the other day just about life and stuff like that. And I was like, the life is so gray. You know, it's so gray. There's so much, and there's so many shades within that, right? When you're young, it's black and white. You know, it's the only thing that it is. And I think some people kind of stay that way. You know, they kind of stay thinking that it's just that black and white. But I think once you start kind of looking into it, you're just like, damn, there's so much, there's no right way. There's no wrong way. Everybody has different opinions.
It's crazy, dude. Because for me, like, sex is a big thing, right? So like in a relationship. So I remember thinking like, oh, if I'm not having sex, then the relationship's not worth it. Well, that's okay for me. But maybe for somebody else, that's another guy, maybe he just needs it once a week or whatever. And it's okay. But you're thinking from your perspective, and it happens all the time in Reddit. Like, oh, my husband's not giving me enough, or my wife's not giving me enough. Well,
break up with them.
First thing is like, break up with them.
Divorce.
See what's really important. Is that number one on your thing? Right? Yeah. Like it's just interesting to me. Just look through different lenses. I think that's a big part. Like, I don't know. Even that's where it goes back to influencers too. Like, I'm better than you. This is how you do it. And blah, blah, blah. Like, dude, I got to really get in your headspace to see where you're at. Yeah. Like, I coach people differently. I give some people macros. I give some people, like food list. Exactly. I tell people sometimes journal, and each person needs a different thing. They need a different Edwin coach. Yeah. Right.
Oh, wow. That's so weird.
All right, let's get into our studies. The first study is short-term duration, light intensity exercise improve cerebral blood flow in children. Researchers investigate the effects of brief periods of light intensity exercise of increasing cerebral blood flow in children. It was a pretty interesting. Yeah. What did you think?
It's interesting. I think a lot about how, like, in elementary school, you know, my daughter goes to recess a lot. And sometimes I think she was telling me that her recess is really early. It's at like 9 or 10, something like that. Like sort of like right after school starts, you know? And at the beginning I was like, that's weird. That's really early in the day. You know, I feel like I remember when recess was for me, it was like at the end of the day.
For me, it was around lunch.
Yeah, somewhere around there, right? I would understand if maybe it was like maybe before or after lunch, right? I think even before lunch would be a good idea, which I guess is the way that it is for her. But it made sense to put it at the beginning of the day, you know, because you get all of this like opening, you know, you wake up a lot more. You're much more, I don't know, accessible, you know. I think that I was either watching a video that maybe you had sent me or just one that I had seen, and they were talking about how exercise increases like neuroplasticity, like increases the ability, it doesn't make you learn more, right? But it leaves your brain more open to learning, right? To changes in cerebral pathways. All of these different things. So if you were to exercise more often, you're more able to change the way you think, essentially, right? Whether it's learning a lesson or perspective, right? Or whatever it is. And, you know, I think a lot about myself watching that one, because I was like, I wonder if maybe that's why I felt like I've had a lot more changes and the way that I think now, or in the way that I am, or whatever. I wonder if it's because I work out more, or any of the things just leave me more open.
Or maybe that's why like people are positive who work out more.
Yeah,
Tend to
maybe.
be, right? It makes me really think, when are we to admit the body and brain are connected?
Oh yeah.
I think that's the big thing that we keep on separating in research all the time. Everything. It's when are we going to admit that all flows together? And then why are we cutting funding to PE?
Yeah.
And classes like that, or PE teachers making a joke of physical education versus getting people to move.
Yeah.
You know, and understanding like you can learn while physically moving too. It's just really interesting.
Doing jumping jacks. 5 + 5 is 10.
All right. Second one, taking a trip down memory lane could be the key to drinking less alcohol. A new study suggests recollecting previous drinking episodes could put women off drinking too much.
Interesting. So like thinking about a bad drinking period could make you want to drink less. I mean, that makes sense, right? It makes sense for a lot of things too. I mean, I think it's just that learning thing, you know, it's like, oh, if I burn my hand on a stove, I'm probably not going to touch a stove again. You know?
So I wonder, because remember that chart that we saw with binge drinking and women staying the same.
Right.
But men going down. I think men have gone down because they understand working out is a big deal. Making money is a big deal, right? So like they're becoming more motivated to become better. And that's what brings alcohol down for men. I wonder if women, it's more tend to the emotional part. And if they emotionally collect data of bad experiences, they can literally drink less and not put themselves in that situation because they don't want to experience that same emotion. The
two ways to kind of get to each one, right? Where it's like, oh, maybe males are more externally driven, right? By things like that. Like you said, like, oh, I need to make more money. I need to be healthier. I need to do these things in order to get what I need
to
from
acquire
life.
A woman or something.
Right. Like and then for women, it's the opposite.
I should say
right?
acquire a woman because it sounds like
acquire a partner.
To get married,
right?
partner.
Yeah. And for women, right, it's like you said, it's more emotional. So they need a different type of stimulus in order to kind of change behaviors and things like that. And yeah, it makes sense that for guys, it would probably be a lot more external, and for women, it'd probably be more internal, you know?
And I wonder if they did this with guys, if they would collect the emotion, but they'd be like, whatever, it was badass, bro. Like, you would think like that.
Maybe, you know? Because I could imagine that a lot of guys, maybe the older generation saw their parents drinking a whole lot or whatever it is, and you kind of just like follow the pattern, you know, and almost like you kind of just fall into it. So it's just not as motivating.
All right. Before we go into the podcast questions, if you like what we're doing, please share, like, subscribe. We're on Apple and Spotify. You can rate and review us. Also on YouTube, hit that subscribe, hit the like, and check us out. Then, if you're looking for our website, it's strengthsolutionspodcast.com. And on there, you can find free blogs, free guides, and programs for purchase. strengthsolutionspodcast@gmail.com to send us fitness questions. Strength Solutions Podcast for TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm Strength Solutions Edwin on Instagram.
I'm Strength Solutions Nathaniel.
All right, first fitness questions. Can you grow muscle doing calisthenics?
Interesting.
Hell no. No, yes. I mean, have you looked at gymnast arms?
Dude, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of calisthenics. I think when people think calisthenics, I think they think too simply. I think they think of doing air squats and push-ups and maybe a pull-up or a dip or something like that. But there's like so many levels of it that you can take it to extremes.
I think the best way to describe levels is like, say you do a row in TRX. You start up here. As you go down, it gets harder and harder. Yeah. Like there's different levels. Like,
right. Do a row at 45 degrees and then do a row at 90. Right. And it's completely different. Right. It's just like loading the bar a lot more. It changes that stimulus. So I think as long as you have like a good amount of equipment, really good range of motion, right? If you're on your nutrition, just like anything else, right? You definitely can.
I will say this. I think to get a better benefit, I think you do need to be at a good body percent fat.
True.
Because then you could do harder things.
Yeah.
Because let's say you're starting at 300. Well, push-ups, it's going to be harder and harder to get harder at the push-ups if you're already starting at
rep max
300 pounds.
Time. Right, yeah. And I think you also have to understand that, like, okay, if I'm doing calisthenics, well, I probably won't end up with a body like a bodybuilder, right? That's not what's going to
You'll get pretty big.
You'll get muscular, right? You'll build muscle, but it's like, I think you have to manage, I think, what you are going to end up
expectations.
Your expectation of what your result is going to be. So can you build muscle doing calisthenics? Yes. The amount of muscle is what I think maybe changes.
Yeah. All right. I wonder if there's someone who's on steroids who does cool calisthenics to see if they get themselves
to
real
see
big.
if they get huge. I don't know. I can imagine. Yeah.
Interesting.
Maybe you're the guy. Let's do it.
Okay.
Start blasting.
All right. Question number 2. What are some goals that you can have that has nothing to do with aesthetics?
In terms of fitness?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think performance.
Yeah. I want to get more details because I think too many times, even when we talk about performance, there's such a wide variety of things. Like maybe performance, you want to get a better vertical. Then you could tailor your training to get in a better vertical. Or let's say you want to just get stronger on your 3 lifts like a powerlifter. Well, you do like a powerlifting program.
Right.
Let's say you want to get better at doing something like what's those Spartan runs and stuff like that. Well, you're to learn how to train like that a little bit more based off performance. Now there's performance, there's longevity.
Yeah.
So maybe we want to add more of a mobility component, some cardio to it. So there's more to than aesthetics, and you'll get aesthetics in each of those things.
Right. No matter what, if you're training properly, if you have good nutrition, like the aesthetics are going to come. I think at the end of the day, it definitely matters on, like you said, like just sort of what that goal is. I was talking to one of my clients today and we were doing, it was one of her last sessions that we're going to have together. And on those last days, I like to just do fun stuff.
Did you cry?
No, because I'm like, she's going to come back. It's not over. Yeah. And, but I was like, hey, what if we just find out like your 1 rep maxes? You know, what if we just figure that out so that you can have some percentages to take and do stuff on your own? And she asked me the question. She was like, how often do you do stuff like this? And I was like, once a year, maybe. Like, I really don't do it that often. And I was like, if I'm general population, I'm just someone who's training to have longevity, like you're saying, things like that. Like, there's really no reason for me to max out. You know,
it's just fun.
It's just fun. Yeah. Maybe it gives me some information.
Your goal could be fun.
Yeah, my goal could be fun, right? And so it just always matters, you know. It doesn't always have to do with aesthetics. And like you said, there's so many detailed ways to get into each more like broad idea, you know. And aesthetics will always be a side effect that always just come.
Yep. All right. Question number 3. Does missing a week of working out really set you back? It actually could spring you forward.
It could, yeah. I think it depends on why you missed.
Yeah.
Like it's like
if you're a consistent individual and you miss a week, I'm going to say most likely it's going to spring you forward because sometimes your body just needs rest. And the week you miss, you may not think you're working out, but you're maybe on vacation, walking all the time, moving, and you're just recovering the body.
Right.
Now, if you're inconsistent and you miss, I'm not going to say it sets you back, but you got to realize you're just staying the same. Probably.
Yeah, you may just be sort of in that spinning your wheels thing. Now, one of the things that I will say, and I think that this is one that I want to, like you said, sort of go like more detailed into, is that let's say you got sick and you missed the gym for a week and you come back in the week after and you're feeling pretty good and you're like, oh man, I can't really lift as much. You know, I'm getting really tired. That doesn't mean you've been set back, right? It doesn't mean that you lost your gains. It doesn't mean anything like that. It just means that you're still recovering. Even though you may feel better, your body may not be at that 100%, you know? So it may take 2 weeks before you're back to lifting at the weight that you were, but that doesn't mean you lost a bunch of muscle or that you're so much weaker now or anything like that. You're just still in that recovery period. And I think a lot of people kind of have a misconception of that one.
Yeah. All right. Question number 4. What are the top 3 things you can do if you want to grow any body part?
Any body part? Say full body workouts for sure.
Yeah. No, I'm going to say, okay, my top 3 things is, okay, first thing, to grow any body part, you have to be in a surplus.
Yep.
I think that's the biggest misconception is you just work out, you got to be in certain surplus. Sometimes it's not even as big as you think of a surplus.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And so a lot of women want to grow their glutes, yet they're in a deficit. And like, how are you supposed to grow them?
Constantly in a deficit, trying to grow.
Can't grow them. Second thing I would say is each muscle needs a novel stimulus. And sometimes you need to lift heavy, low reps, or higher reps. I'm going to use the core, for example. Everybody does 15, 20 reps all the time. I'm going to give you a core game changer. Do 5 to 10 reps. Go heavier on the same sit-ups. You're going to get results just because you went heavier for a little while. And that happens in the calves as well.
Calves, yeah.
You know, so you're going to have to change the stimulus each time. And then the last thing is hit that as frequent as possible.
Yeah.
Whatever body part it is, if it's the priority.
I would definitely say the volume is going to be one of the biggest things. If you're not having volume, if I'm training my chest one time a week, it's just not enough stimulus.
Let's say you're training 3 different exercises one time a week, you hit 12 sets of volume, but you're not sending a signal again. That's not enough frequency.
That's the last one you did, right? And so you're just not going to grow a body part like that. Beyond those things that you mentioned, you need to make sure that you're managing sleep, right? You need to make sure that you're getting, like you said, a surplus, making sure that the protein is there, all of those things, because if you're not doing any of that stuff, again, you're going to be kind of just like spinning your wheels. You're not really going to be going anywhere. No matter how many times you train during the week, no matter how many stimuluses you send, if those things aren't in place, then you're also not going to grow any body part. But I think for the most part, being in a surplus is definitely number one, right? Mm-hmm. And everything else is very important.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys, if you like what we're doing, please share, like, subscribe. We're on Apple and Spotify. You can rate and review us. Check us out on YouTube. Smash that like button, smash the subscribe. Then, if you're really interested in buying a program or seeing a free blog, a free guide, it's strengthsolutionspodcast.com. Then, if you're looking for a place to email us future fitness questions, it's strengthsolutionspodcast@gmail.com. Then, also, if you're looking for us on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, it's Strength Solutions Podcast. On Instagram, I'm Strength Solutions Edwin.
I'm Strength Solutions Nathaniel.
Until next time, guys. What?